Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial is set correctly to USAPrepares.com. And if you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933. If you'd like to listen, 605-477-3249. John's engineering the broadcast in Minnesota at GCN. I'm Vincent Finelli, and today, hour number one, we're going to be learning about emergency preparedness and more. Howard Godfrey's been with us numerous times on this broadcast, and he's written a fabulous, I would call this a manual, on emergency preparedness and more. It's a second edition. And let me just read something to you. On the back of this book, it says, watching mainstream television will encourage learned helplessness. Emergency preparedness and more is just the opposite. It will cut to the chase and save you time and money. An outstanding manual focused on preparing for your survival. How to prepare, what to prepare, and why. It's similar to years of USA Prepares broadcasts in a single volume. If you're new to preparedness and survival, reading this manual from cover to cover is your best first step. I wrote that, and it's on the back cover, and I was flattered to be asked to review this book prior to publication. Honored. Welcome, Howard Godfrey. Just me? Oh, geez. Let's see. I do not have a return from Howard Godfrey. John, are you there? Or is it just me? Well, I'm looking at the meters. Everything looks fine at my end. I don't see... the audio meters look good. The return looks good, but I do not hear Howard. I hear my own signal. Nope.
Hello?
Hey, Howard. Glad to hear you.
I hear all the time. I can hear you fine.
Oh, great. Well, now I can hear you. So, welcome. I'm so glad you're here, and I've got your book in my hands. Over 400 pages. I've got to ask you, Howard, what was the inspiration for writing such a complete volume?
You know, all my life I've been interested in it. I was born in England during World War II, and I was raised on stories of the rationing. I can remember how when we first moved to Canada, hearing about how my mother cried when she first went into a butcher shop and saw all the meat that was available. And I was raised hearing about that as a child. My father grew up in the Depression in northern Michigan and had a really rough existence. My parents were into this and preparedness all their lives. My father's still alive, and he's in his 90s now, and he's still interested in it. I've been raised around it all my life, so I wanted to do something that would help people and make people aware of what they could do, what they could accomplish, and what they needed to store.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned World War II England?
Yes.
Bombings?
Yes.
Daily bombings? Buildings being blown to bits? Just having shoes at the ready to jump out of bed with shoes and run out from wherever you are. Wasn't that important? I mean, just something as simple as that.
Yeah, things like that are, I was a little young, so I didn't experience some of it, but at the same time, I've been taught all my life and heard about it. And yes, my mother would have to go down to the bomb shelter. She was living in Portsmouth, one of the more heavily bombed areas. And she spent night after night in the bomb shelter, and I did as a child. Although when I was 3 days old, I was evacuated from the area. They were moving children out and everything. So I've been exposed to the stories of it my whole life, my grandparents, and everybody, and it really makes me aware of it, of just how nasty it can get. And yeah, little things like having shoes by the side of your bed, having your clothes where you can find them. I put my clothes and my shoes in the same place every night, so I know where they are.
Mm-hmm. So you can find them in the dark if you have to, because the lights may not be, the power may not be there.
That's
really
correct.
good points. And, I've talked to my grandparents. I wish I had spent more time talking to them about the Great Depression and how awful it was, and raising, your own food. And people who lived in cities converted their backyards to gardens because they had to. They had to, and to survive. And so genetically, and I think we've got some of that material in us, Howard. I really believe that. And you ask a question that's a little disconcerting, when someone reads it for the first time. This is in your book. And the question is, will you eat a rat? What's that all about?
Well, if you go back to England and you go back to World War II, and people ate cats, rats, they ate all kinds of things to survive. And you have to ask yourself the question right at the beginning, are you prepared to eat a rat? Are you prepared to do what it takes to survive? And you have to put yourself in that frame psychologically so that you will do what's required. And by asking that question now beforehand and giving it some thought, you can get that straight in your mind. If you can't get that straight in your mind, if you're not prepared to do it, why waste money on preparing?
Good point. And, that brings to mind the question that I've asked some of our meetup group members. And the question is, are you prepared to shoot someone in a defensive situation? Are you prepared to take another life if you have to for your own survival? And that relates to the question you ask before you purchase a gun. And if the answer is no, I don't think I'm willing to take someone's life, then don't get that gun. Because that gun may be, you may have it loaded, and that gun may be taken from you and used on you. So that's why I've asked that question. I think this is a great question. And then you go on to say, in a real survival situation, when you're short of food, you have to eat anything and everything. A meal missed is calories you may never get back.
That's entirely correct. If you talk to prisoners who were in a prisoner of war camp or somebody who's been in a starvation situation, you will discover that the survivors were the ones who never missed a meal. When they had a chance to get food, they ate it, regardless of what it was.
And as I read through the book, I noticed something. There's an image, a picture of a 275-gallon IBC tote. Class, what this is roughly 4 feet wide, 4 feet high, 4 feet deep. It's a plastic box. It's a cube. The dimensions are slightly different depending whether you get a 300 or a 275-gallon tote. It's got a dispensing valve on the bottom and a fill cap on the top. It's white plastic, and it's in a steel cage, and it's palletized. Howard, in your book, you say that you have them. Why do you have those?
Oh, they're great for storing water. You can let you store a lot of water in a small place. You can stack them 3 high if you have availability of a forklift. Or you can they're light enough, you can set one on top of another when they're empty and then fill them in place. And the thing about those is you can store a lot of water in a small place, and I'm a great believer in storing water. Water is critical to our survival in every way, and most of us don't have a good alternate source unless you live in the farm or you live in the country. So it pays to have water on hand and readily available.
Mm-hmm. Howard, I have I have 4 of these, and I have them stacked, not 4. I have one stacked on another, in a location where when the grid is down or the power's out, or if I have to use a generator, I can make sure that they are filled up. Let's say they are empty to start with. I can fill them up, or I can have them pre-filled. And because they're stacked in a location where I have them, they are higher than the faucet. So now I have gravity feed water. So I can run a generator if I want to, or use solar power, run the well pump, fill these totes over and over again, maybe once a week, and I'll have stored water. And that's a lot easier than storing electricity. So it's hard to pump water. You can run the generator for, let's say you can pump 10 gallons a minute out of a well. If you have 600 gallons of water stored, 60 minutes, you can fill that up. So you can run your generator for 60 minutes, 1 hour, and have a week's worth of water, then shut the generator off. What do you think?
No, I think that's ideal. I think a situation like that will put you in good shape. I mean, you have 600 gallons of water. If you use it conservatively, it will last you a significant period of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And let's say, class, you've got, let's say you've got a garage, and you stack them in the corner of your garage, and you plumb them into your household water system, and you have a ball valve to shut that off. Keep them full, and we'll talk in a minute about how to make sure that water doesn't go bad. Then you can go down to your basement where you have a faucet or a shower or a toilet, and now you've got all the conveniences of before a grid down situation, except you won't have quite the water pressure. What a great way to go. Howard, how do we come back, how do we treat that water? Dr. Norm Shealy's with us. NormShealy.com. That's NormShealy.com. Dr. Shealy, it's good to be with you today.
Yes, sir. I thought I was in class again.
Yeah, we had a little bit of difficulty getting started this morning, but our technical connections are fixed, and we are live. Dr. Shealy, I wanted to, before we get into energy medicine and some of these other topics that we have on the list, I met a new friend in the Springfield Village, and I invited him to call with his medical questions, and he said that he'd rather not, so that we stay on the air. And he's got an extensive vocabulary. And let me give you he and I chatted both off the air last night on the telephone and in person. And I really like this guy. He's a wonderful man, except every once in a while a few words slip out that just wouldn't work for being on the air. So he decided that he would rather not be on the air. So let me tell you about this man and what his condition is. And I said to him that I think that you would have some wonderful advice to put him back in shape. So he's of 69 years of age, 5'10". He weighs 285 pounds. And he said for the last 21 years, he has been a type 2 diabetic. He's had some extreme stresses in his life. He has been remarried. His son was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy and died. So he's had some some of life's very hard knocks, hard blows. Among some others I'm sure he's had that I don't know about. He smokes 2.5 packs of tobacco a day. He is, he's addicted, he's an Englishman. He's addicted to white bread, or he's addicted to bread for sure. He has COPD. He has an oxygen machine. He's on metformin, metformin, 2,000 milligrams a day. He takes that 1,000 milligrams per dose twice per day. He's on simvastatin. He was on 40 milligrams. He's now down to 20 milligrams per day. He does not have health insurance. He was just prescribed something called Invokana, Invokana, 100 milligrams per day. And he uses an injectable called Levemir, Levemir, for his diabetes. He has a rescue inhaler, which is albuterol sulfate. And he's on another inhaler for his COPD called Spiriva, Spiriva, once a day. And he says it's a capsule that he inhales. I guess there's an inhaling apparatus that goes with this capsule that he, I believe, opens up through some mechanical mechanism and then inhales it. So he was a truck driver for about 40 years. So he's been behind the wheel. I believe that being a truck driver is a pretty darn stressful job. And he's been sitting for, 40 years behind the wheel. And I said that he can take control of his life. He can do certain things to improve his condition, and that you would be the guy to tell him what to do, Dr. Shealy. What do you think? And I told him, I told him brace for it, because you're going to just tell him directly. There's going to be no dancing around this. You're going to tell him exactly what he needs to do and get ready for it, because it's going to be blunt. When we come back, Dr. Shealy.
My Sagittarian self after the break.
But I would love to help this man. I really think he's a wonderful guy, and I think he, his cigarette addiction, his addiction to white bread, and he just doesn't take direction very well. He's like the rest of us. But in this case, he's going to have to take some direction. We'll be right back. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. Dr. Shealy, one other thing I need to tell you about my new friend of 69 years of age. He was hospitalized, and they were taking some measurements, and they found out that his O2 saturation was in the 80s, like 85. And the doctor at the time said to my friend, 85 is pretty low, you're actually dying. And so this was a wake-up call. And this is, and I guess what we're looking at is trying to repair 40 years of a tough job, tough road, and stress. What are your thoughts, Dr. Shealy, about helping?
Well, I agree with the doctor. Mm-hmm. In the hospital, if he does not make some radical changes, he's dying. It's only a question of when, not whether. Now, the radical changes he must take are to quit smoking. There's no such thing as weaning from smoking. You either quit or you don't quit. Number two, he must lose 100 pounds of weight. That is absolutely critical. Without doing those two things, there's no way anything can help him. Everything else is a waste of everybody else's time, money, energy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What he really needs is about a month of intensive 8-hour-a-day retraining of his brain. And, that can be done, but it can't be done at no charge. It would cost him about $15,000 or $16,000. And without doing that, I could tell him what to do. He's on his own, and his chances of making it without a lot of support are almost zero.
Dr. Shealy, the reason this is such an important discussion today is because I don't think my friend is alone. I believe I believe that there are so many people. If you go to the Chinese factory outlet, you'll see it. You'll see. You just don't know their names, but you will see people who have gained more weight than they should have. People who are not in the...
As a matter of fact, it's a minimum of 1/3 of all Americans who are truly obese, plus another third who are overweight. And the number one cause of premature death today is obesity.
Dr. Shealy, this man explained to me that he's an Englishman and that bread is a staple. And I said, yeah, I know. And it used to be for a lot of people, including me. I mean, it's something that, we grew up with. And I said that it's changed. The wheat has changed. It's not the same thing as it used to be. So because of the Roundup that's used as a drying agent in wheat and the Roundup that's used on our crops, we're slowly being poisoned. But we've got to stop eating wheat. It's a matter of survival. And he explained to me that that's going to be really tough to do. And I said, it is tough to do, but yet it can be done. And I talked about
that. I've done several studies with diabetic neuropathy where the diabetes is already causing serious physical damage. And when I tell them they have to give up bread, they look at me as if I'm trying to take away heroin and just kick them in the gonads.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Shealy, can you share with us how you did this? How did you get off wheat? As soon as you figured out that this was the source of a big source of our problems with health, what did you do? I
just made a decision to be done, and it was done. I mean, that's easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, once I know something is dangerous or not good for me, it's done. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to torture myself with it. It's done, like another breath.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, in 1970, after learning how much Harvard had lied about sugar,
mm-hmm.
I decided to stop sugar. I stopped, just like that.
I did too. Cold turkey, and it used to be really nice to have a cup of coffee with a little bit of milk in it, and a teaspoon of sugar, not a couple teaspoons or a tablespoon, just 1 teaspoon. It was really kind of nice. And for I don't know how many years, that's kind of a normal thing. It used to be that you go to restaurants like 1 sugar or 2, or 2 sugars or 3, in your coffee. I don't know how we got to that point, but so now for years after that, it was cold turkey, no sugar in the coffee. As a matter of fact, and then I went off coffee. I'm in the studio right now, and I would have a cup of coffee, and then during the top of the hour break, I'd go and grab another cup of coffee. And why? Because your throat gets parched when you're talking. Well, I don't do that anymore. Right now, I have some herbal tea in front of me, and that's what I've been doing for weeks now.
Incidentally,
I don't need the coffee. I quit it.
I don't
cold
think it's
turkey.
a need. Incidentally, however, I do believe that 1 to 3 cups of coffee a day is actually good for most people. And I'm not saying you have to take it up. You should, but I do not know of a significant harm from drinking 1 to 3 cups of coffee a day. Now, as you know, I tend to drink almost exclusively Gano coffee, which is half coffee and half reishi mushroom. The mushroom itself is really good for your immune system. And there's only 50 milligrams of caffeine in a cup of Gano coffee, so it's about 1/3 of an average cup of coffee. But I like the taste of it, and I don't think it comes close to the harm of sugar or wheat.
Okay, and Dr. Shealy, is there a particular brand of Gano coffee that you like? Can you get it at at most outlets?
I have seen it only on the internet. I don't know that it happens other places. I've never seen it at a health food store or a regular restaurant. Yep.
Okay, I just did a search. Their Gano coffee as low as NevadaCoffee.com, as low as $5.95. I haven't gone to the website, but okay. And then there's some others at about $10 per package. All right, so Gano coffee as a switch from regular coffee. What about some of the drugs that my new friend is taking? He's been taking simvastatin for years, and I said, "Wow, get ready for what Dr. Shealy has to say about this."
From my point of view, that's probably almost as bad as smoking. He's lucky to be alive, to be on that drug for this long, and especially with his severe diabetes and his excess weight. There is, my statement, I'll bite your hand off if you try to push one in my mouth.
Right. And you wouldn't take it for $1 trillion.
No. Mm-hmm. Even a quadrillion.
More zeros. So, Dr. Shealy, being on simvastatin, is it something that he should try to wean himself off?
Well, it's possible. Basically, trimethylglycine, TMG, 2,000 milligrams 3 times a day, and lecithin granules, 2 heaping tablespoons twice a day, most of the time will take care of the cholesterol problem adequately in most people. And he could start on those, and after a week begin to cut the statin drug in half, and after another week cut it out, and then check his cholesterol. On the other hand, if he doesn't quit the smoking and begin a process of reasonable diet, weaning off the statin drug is not as important as quitting smoking and losing weight. Everything is relative, isn't it?
Yes. And I'm concerned about him being on oxygen at home as well.
And smoking. That's a double hazard. I know they often just put it aside for a few minutes and put it back on. Let's face it, he's made wrong choices for probably 30 years or more, and it's going to take a phenomenal amount of willpower to change.
Well, I'm going to help him with his willpower, see if I can encourage him. In terms of diet, Dr. Shealy, so many of us, and when I say us, I don't mean me necessarily or you. I mean so many people eat these, what I call extruded foods, processed foods, and that seems to be what the stores sell. What do you recommend that he switch to immediately to help repair or reverse some of what his body has gone through?
Well, that means to me immediately he eats no packaged food that has anything in it other than one food and maybe a little bit of salt. So if it's got 3 or more, 3 ingredients or more, there's something that's likely to be toxic.
Okay, so as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking kale. So now we have a salad as a big part of a meal, maybe lunch. So we're talking about escarole or romaine, kale with a little extra virgin olive oil and maybe some balsamic vinegar as a salad dressing. Maybe a little bit of cheese, a little bit, not a lot. Some cucumbers, some carrots, bananas as a snack.
Celery, carrot.
Yep. Okay.
Now, by the way, Vince, I use, because of my own personal choices, a lot of dried goodies. For instance, I have a jar of dried kale from Hoosier Farms. And, a teaspoon of that is equal to a serving of kale. It isn't that I don't like kale. It's just that in order to keep my schedule, I often use things like that to embellish a drink.
Okay. So, dried kale. When we come back, since you've mentioned dried foods, Dr. Shealy, let's talk about things like dried apricots and prunes and apples and some of those that are packaged that have sulfites in them. We'll be right back.
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Shealy's with us. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Shealy's with us. NormShealy.com. N-O-R-M, as in Norman, Shealy, SHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, we'll get back to our discussion in just a couple of minutes. We have Elaine from Florida. Welcome, Elaine.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You're welcome. You're on the air. Please continue.
Okay. Is Dr. Shealy there? The question.
I'm here. Go for it.
Okay, Dr. Shealy, I've talked to you before in the past, and I'm a nurse. I work in Florida in the winter. I live in Jersey and work in Philadelphia in the summer. I'm a bit of a recluse. I think I'm very intuitive, but I'm afraid of my intuition, and I see what the world needs. Anyway, I'm calling because I read about your medical intuitive program, thinking this would probably be very helpful to me. And I always, I'm into get your own act together, but when I move out to do that, I always end up committed or get involved with someone that I see the beauty in everybody. And I talked to you about that relationship I got in with a purely narcissistic personality. It took me 3 years to untangle myself from it because I see the beauty in these people, but like you said, you can't help them. You could spend your whole life. So I like to take your course. I want to know what the patient, what in it. I'm on my phone and the materials. You talk about each session you have to do a report on 10 patients. Does that mean I have to have my own independent practice?
No. I provide the patient names.
Okay. And then what do I do with the patient names? How do I get...
I will send everybody the form. There's a form you need to fill out that shows whether the patient's dead or alive, what the diagnosis is, or if you don't have, let's say, it is diabetic neuropathy as a diagnosis, then you fill in where on the physical body there's a problem, and then there's a physiological cause list of, physiological causes. You have to check that. So you check which physiological cause, which physical location. That's all you need.
But am I contacting these patients, or am I...
No. You are sending me the report. I know what the diagnosis is. And
are these patients somewhere in the coursework, or...
Well, each month I send 10 names from patients who've allowed me to submit them for this course.
Okay.
And then all you do is fill out your intuitive answer as to what's wrong with them. And I correct it and, send you out the corrected form when I'm done.
Okay. All right. So it's actually another learning experience, but we're forced to use our own intuition.
Exactly.
So we'll get to know ourselves better. Oh, that sounds great. Thanks for doing this course.
I've been debating it for some time, but I get so many requests, I decided to do it.
Yes. Well, I would talk to you earlier about going up to Missouri to the university and working on a PhD, but I am having a lot of trouble just going back to school, period, because schooling has been such a miscommunication my whole life. I have I have a postmaster certificate as an NP, and it was like the worst thing that ever happened to me. It was like the Wizard of Oz. The curtain got pulled back, and I said, I can't do this anymore. So, and I know you from when I first started practicing. You were still in neurosurgery, and you wrote a letter about, actually a scathing letter about 6 surgeries. It's obviously not back pain. Cut this out. I was impressed. Forever. I've followed you for the rest of my career because I was working in neuro in a surgical area. And I kind of moved on, and I'm mostly do medical ICU, but I look at my practice Nursing says I have a unique relationship there that I can. I don't know where the music's coming from.
Well, I'll tell you where it's coming from, Elaine. It's coming from top of the hour break. And
Okay.
do you have
That's
a
fine.
further question for Dr. Shealy, or
No, we can just let it go there. That's fine.
okay,
Just
Elaine?
keep the faith, baby.
And
Yes.
we'd love to see you. We'd love to see you escape New Jersey and come to Missouri. Elaine, thank you
Okay.
so much for your call.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Dr. Shealy and I'll be right back. And I've got some questions about dried fruits and sulfur dioxide because asthmatics may have a serious reaction to that. We'll be right back. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Hour number 2 of USA Prepares with Dr. Norman Shealy. Dr. Shealy, during hour number 1, I was telling you about my new friend who is a truck driver. And so we've been thinking about what can he eat that would be a great replacement from what I call extruded foods. And those are those foods that are brightly packaged and they look really neat to eat, and but are slow death in a package.
If you read the label, again, if you read the label and it's got more than one basic farm food and maybe some salt, you don't eat it. I don't care what exclusion or exclusion there is. You eat only real food. Now, as far as I can tell, virtually all dried fruits have sulfur whatever, the added sulfur stuff. But did you know that 90% of the grapes, fresh grapes, have sulfur on them too? Mm-hmm. The fungicide is sprayed on them after they picked.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I've had apples that look like they are just delicious in the package, and then when you cut into them, they're mealy. They're old. Yeah. There's a way of making fruit.
Vince, it's a gamble. In order to survive today, it's more of a gamble, I think, than it was in the days of the tigers and the dinosaurs. And it's 90% government evil that allows it.
I agree, because they used to protect us from poor quality products. They used to protect us from cribs that were made with slats that a small infant could stick his head in there. And
isn't it interesting that at the same time the illegal, the unconstitutional Federal Reserve was set up in 1913, that's about the time they began also chlorinating water. The first weapon of mass destruction was turned on the public 103 plus years ago.
One of the things I was telling my new friend is that he's going to have to get off chlorinated and fluoridated water.
Oh, yeah.
And I started
top of everybody's list.
I explained to him that it's a slow killer. And I didn't get a chance last night to explain to him. So why don't we do it right now, Dr. Shealy, because I know he's listening to this broadcast. It was his homework assignment. And I'm going to go check on him today. I'm going to drive out to his house and see how he's doing. Dr. Shealy, fluoride. I was telling him about how fluoride is an industrial waste, and they didn't know what to do with it. So they started burying it on farms, digging holes and putting this fluoride chemical in the farmland, and then it would rain, and then the cows would drink the water that was mixed with this fluoride, and they would die. They would just die.
The dental and the aluminum industry, which is a byproduct of fluoride's byproduct of aluminum mining, had a national contest to find a way to use the fluoride, and some stupid dentist and the entire American Dental Association bought the nonsense and started poisoning people by putting it in the water.
Yep. I can tell you that the
was
dental
over
village.
some 25 years after they started poisoning people by putting chloride in the water.
I can tell you that few people in the dental community are taking notice to the things that you're saying, and they are saying, you know what, I guess we're not going to stand behind this fluoride charade and prescribe fluoride pills and fluoride treatments, the way they used to, which is wonderful. So, Dr. Shealy, let me just read this, and this is from healthyeating.sfgate.com, and it says, the health risks of sulfur dioxide in dried fruits. Sulfur dioxide might not sound good enough to eat, but this food preservative does make its way into a number of edibles, including dried fruits such as raisins, dried apricots, and prunes. Sulfur dioxide is one type of sulfite, a preservative whose name might be more familiar. Even small amount of sulfite can wreak havoc if you're sensitive to it. If you have asthma, sulfite sensitivity, or sulfite allergy, eating dried fruits might cause serious health problems, including breathing problems, life-threatening allergy-like symptoms, or in rare cases, death. Pretty serious. So
almost like the average drug.
Yes. And the reason I read that, and I'll post that on the website, class, the reason I read that is because people who have respiratory problems should probably consider being very careful about sulfur dioxide in their fruits. Would you agree with that, Dr. Shealy? I don't want to take a medical position. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, class, keep that in mind. When you're having friends and family over for the Christmas holidays, keep that in mind. If someone has asthma or COPD or some kind of a respiratory condition, think about the dried fruits, and they're wonderful. Who doesn't want to eat them? But we should be careful. So that was my concern. Back to my friend's smoking of 2.5 packs a day. Boy, I'd really like him to stop. That's 30 cigarettes a day. And Dr. Shealy, I was talking with another one of our friends who is a smoking addict as well. Some people say, I just like the taste of it. I don't know how that's possible to like the taste of tobacco, but I think they're actually trying to con themselves into telling themselves that they like the taste, and when they're actually physically addicted to tobacco. Dr. Shealy, so this other friend of mine said, yeah, but if I quit, it might kill me because of the shock to my system.
Well,
so
that is nonsense, of course. That is attitude again. Attitude.
Okay. So let me see if I've got this right. If I were a smoker of 20 or 30 or 40 years, and I had the willpower to say, you know what, I'm no longer going to slowly kill myself or accelerate my demise, and I'm not going to let the government steal my hard-earned payments into Social Security. I'm going to live as long as I can to get as much back from those thugs as I can. And I just decide right now, that's it. I'm going to crush that pack of cigarettes and throw them away, and that's it. No more cigarettes, period. I'm not going to die from doing that.
Oh, no. Now, if you are an agitator, if you play broken records constantly, if you tune into your fear, that's another thing. It does require a certain degree of pure, unadulterated willpower. And if you don't have willpower, well, you're lucky to be alive anyway. And it is only brute willpower that allows us to get through life and detach from all the nonsense. My basic philosophy is if you cannot change something, detach. It's gone. It's like as I said about sugar and about wheat. Once you've made the decision, that's willpower. It's done. No problem. No sweat. No anxiety.
Dr. Shealy, in your practice, have you seen a number of cases firsthand where people's willpower gets in the way of them becoming healthy again, or lack of willpower?
Yes, I would say conservatively, even the people who come to see me who theoretically are already out of the box, I would say 25% of them do not have the willpower necessary to do it.
Wow.
I had an 80-year-old woman come in a couple of weeks ago on 5 drugs. Now, she's been listening to my radio show for years, and she says, I don't want to quit any of my drugs. I like them. My response is, why did you come here? I don't like drugs. I don't use drugs.
I think, Dr. Shealy, I think that there is some predisposition to thinking that going to the doctor means you're going to get another prescription or a refill. And, you don't feel well and you want to leave with some document that's going to allow you to take some chemical potion that, you want. And if your doctor says, I'll tell you what, I want you to change your diet. I want you to get some exercise, get some fresh air. I want you to reduce your stress. The person might think, wait a minute, I spent a lot of money to see this doctor, and all he told me was what I already knew. But
but you haven't accepted it yet.
Right. That's exactly right. Oh man,
I'm
frustrated.
To accept reality does not make it go away.
Very good point. Very good point. So, Dr. Shealy, I was thinking about your International Institute of Holistic Medicine, and I was thinking about scalar energy. I've gotten a number of calls from that broadcast we did about my experience in your office, in your scalar energy room, and what I felt was this tingling sensation. And while I was in I won't say a mild panic, but I was preoccupied trying to get all the equipment to work, and the clock doesn't stop just because I haven't connected all the cables and tested the microphones and so forth. It was a little bit stressful. I mean, I'm not saying I was melting down because that's not the case, but I wanted to make everything work, and I wanted to be on the air on time. And as soon as I got away from getting those cables connected, I could feel relaxed, and I could feel the energy. I could feel the sense of tingling. I'll tell you what, it wasn't like not being in that room. Not being in that room was different from being in that room. No question about it. Everybody felt the same way. Let's talk about that when we come back. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, normshealy.com. And if you'd like to get the same newsletter that I get multiple times per week, just go to normshealy.com, normshealy.com. Dr. Shealy, we've got Cheryl in San Francisco on the line with us. Welcome, Cheryl.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I have a question. I was at the doctor yesterday. I got a second opinion. I have a large benign thyroid nodule on the right side, and they said I've had a biopsy and an ultrasound, and they said it wasn't cancerous, that it does grow. It's particular to women, and they said to wait a year. The doctor said to wait a year and recheck it. And I asked her about iodine or anything I can do to supplement my body in a natural way, but she's a regular practicing doctor, and she didn't have anything to give me. I was wondering if the doctors knew. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing. Yeah. She's a regular medical doctor.
Well, I was just trying to...
I'm teasing.
I know you are too, but she was not into alternative medicine.
No, I agree with you totally. I'm not laughing at you. Well, here's what I personally would do. I would take one iodoral, is a specific form of iodine, iodoral, a week. Just one.
Can you spell that
I would
again?
do. I'm sorry.
Could you spell that for me again? IODAR?
No, IODORAL.
Okay.
And I would use Fire Bliss, a mixture of essential oils on 12 specific acupuncture points once a day.
Okay.
And I would rub that area with a little bit of castor oil every day.
Okay.
And now we're talking about a need that's going to take a minimum of 3 to 6 months to make a change, but I think it could.
Okay. That sounds good. I can do that. And is there anything psychologically that I might be, just in my pathology of not speaking up because that's my throat chakra? Anything that
what does the throat chakra mean to you? To me, it means being able to express your needs and desires.
Okay.
If you're not able to do that, then you need to work on developing willpower.
Okay. Okay. Very good. That makes sense to me.
In other words, take a shot of Sagittarius.
Okay, I will. That was my father.
Well,
Cheryl?
I'm not being totally facetious. Sagittarians are the bluntest people that I know.
Are they the what?
Blunt.
Oh, yeah, they are very blunt. And I tend to walk on eggshells and candy coat everything.
Right. Well, that's the time has come to kick the eggshells out of the way.
I love it. I'm 64. I'm ready to speak it like it is.
I have a set of 3 MP3s on willpower.
Okay.
It might be worth your listening to those.
Are they on your website?
Yes, there's basic will, internal will, and spiritual will.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna pick those up and give those to myself for a Christmas present.
There you go.
Great.
Cheryl, you've
Okay.
you've got a wonderful voice, a voice of a much younger person.
I I take good care of myself physically, and I do my spiritual and psychological work I have since I've been really young. So thanks for saying that.
Cheryl, and for those who may want to hear again what Dr. Shealy just said, if you go to gcnlive.com, gcnlive.com, and you go to USA Prepare Us at the drop-down box, you can listen to the archives of this broadcast. You can also listen. Yes.
Can you say that to me one more time? I didn't have a pencil in
GCN, as in Genesis Communications Network, live, live.com.
Okay.
And you can listen to the archives there. Or you go to YouTube and type in Vincent Finelli and the date. Dr. Shealy's on every Wednesday. And Ron Gibson's channel has all of our archives without commercial announcements, so it's faster. Or you can go to Republic Broadcasting. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, normshealy.com. We're starting to light up the call screen. We've got Maria in New York and Kelly in British Columbia. Let's see. Maria, you're on first. Welcome.
Yes, hello, Dr. Shealy?
Yes, hi.
Yes, hi, darling. I'm calling about my 4-year-old nephew. He was diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea due to enlarged tonsils and adenoids. And the doctor suggested adenotonsillectomy. Hello?
Right.
Yes, and I would like to know what your suggestion would be.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know any way of shrinking the tonsils and adenoids in a child, in anybody really, and removal is not uncommon. I think I had it when I was 5 or 6 years of age, and it never has bothered me. Not everybody has it, but I don't know any solution except surgery.
All right. Okay. This is what I wanted to hear.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately, there just is not a good, safer, otherwise not a good alternative that I know of.
All right. Okay. And another very small question. At your suggestion, I'm taking iodrol.
Right.
But also your multivitamin contains iodrol. Can I take both?
Well, my multivitamin
iodine,
has a tiny bit of iodine, not really a lot.
Okay.
You're not going to get too much by taking both.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you so much for everything you do.
You are welcome. Blessings on a good outcome for surgery.
Thank you so much. Blessings to you too, Doctor. Bye-bye.
Dr. Shealy, would you tell us how to get your vitamins directly from you on your website? And you also mentioned Bliss previously. What's the best way for us to get them from you?
Well, just go to Norm Shealy, NORMSHEALY.com.
There you go. And you can buy them, class, you can buy his books, you can buy his vitamins and supplements and Bliss oils directly from the website, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Kelly in British Columbia, welcome.
Hi there, thanks. I have a question. I called in to your station and talked to Dr. Shealy in July, and I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2013. My question right now is about optic neuritis. I lost eyesight in my left eye last April, and it's come back somewhat, but it hasn't come back fully, and I was just wondering if there is any suggestions of things I could do.
Boy, that's a big one. I presume you gave up wheat a long time ago.
Yes.
Good. Basically, the number one, adverse thing for multiple sclerosis is wheat. The Roundup is particularly poison to people with autoimmune diseases. Beyond that, the single most important things are to restore your body's ability to make its own DHEA. That is done by using Fire Bliss, My Youth Formula, magnesium lotion, and natural progesterone cream. How old are you?
44.
Still menstruating?
Yes.
With the natural progesterone cream, I would use it from the 10th day of the cycle until either the 28th day or the time the next cycle starts. But that combination of those four helps to restore DHEA, which is the single most important measurement of what your stress reserves are, and that's the DHEA. And it's safe. As long as you're doing it without taking DHEA, it's safe to use those four natural techniques to restore it.
Okay. And how long should I do that for?
Oh, about 50 years.
Okay.
I'm serious. Basically, because of stress in general, once one has been depleted, which most people have by the time they reach their 40s or 50s, you really just need to keep restoring your DHEA ability.
Okay.
I've been on all of these things now for almost 20 years.
Okay. I have one more question about medication. I haven't taken any medication when I lost. It wasn't suggested to me until last April with my eye. At that point, they suggested that I go on an immune modulating medication, which I haven't done. But when I speak to the neurologist, there's a real urgency for me to do something because the lesions are active. So I'm wondering, I haven't wanted to go on medication, but now I can see symptoms progressing, and I'm starting to worry and wonder if I'm making a mistake by not going on the medication. But I am doing lots of other things. I'm changing my diet. I'm doing oxygen therapy. We're doing a lot of Chinese medicine stuff. But yeah, so I guess I'm wondering, the doctor said it takes 6 months for the medicine to start working, and that at 2 years they would consider if I wanted to go on a drug holiday to see if I had stabilized. So I'm kind of wondering if it's something I could maybe go on some of the medication for like a month, and could that stabilize things enough that I could then go off and just stick to my lifestyle changes and the other things I'm doing, or am I mixing in?
And the chances of the medicine doing a lot in a month are not great.
Okay.
And stopping it suddenly could also exacerbate things. So if you decide to do it and then you decide to wean off, you need to take a minimum of a month to cut out the dosage slowly rather than suddenly.
Okay. Do you think I would be making a mistake by not considering going on medication?
I don't think it's a mistake either way. It always is much how one has, if you feel good about it, it's worth doing.
Okay.
If you have hesitancy about it, it's not worth doing.
Okay.
The hesitancy would do more harm than any possible good. But if you say, yeah, I've got to try this, I'm willing to, it's okay, I'm going to take a chance, that's okay.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Hey, you're welcome. Blessings.
Okay, bye-bye.
Kelly, thank you for calling in.
Thanks.
Dr. Shealy, of course, as we talk about these diseases, diet and exercise, I mean, is always that the recommendation? Exercise as you can?
The four most essential recommendations are no smoking, normal body mass index, 18 to 24, 5 or more servings of fruits and vegetables a day, and exercise a minimum of 30 minutes 5 days a week. Without those, it's almost as bad as not breathing. It's a slower process, of course, but basically, those four habits are had by 2.7% of Americans.
Wow.
Only. Now, if we add another known essential, it's 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night. It is now extremely well known that people who get 6 or less hours of sleep a night have a much higher incidence of automobile accidents. They actually, when they're driving an automobile, are almost like someone who's got a drunk level of alcohol.
Dr. Shealy, when I was younger, I didn't hear about CPAP machines. I didn't hear about sleep apnea. I didn't hear about these sleep problems. What do you think the causes are?
Well, obesity is the number one cause of sleep apnea. There are a few people who get it who are not obese, but the number one contribution to sleep apnea is obesity. And as you know, obesity has quadrupled in the last 60 years.
I got to tell you, I was absolutely shocked. Had some guests over here at the farmhouse, about 10 people at one time, and they asked, for their own room, and I said, "That's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough to have everybody have his or her own room." And in our downstairs living room, if you will, there's 3 sofa beds. And I was thinking that, the way I do it, if, I can rough it. If someone's got a sofa bed, that's fine. If they have a sofa, that's fine. If they got the floor, that's fine. But we don't have 10 bedrooms in our house.
I would say that must be 99% of Americans at least.
Right. And then I found out why. It was because they had these CPAP machines, and they didn't want, to either have everyone there know, or they didn't want to be an imposition on everyone else. But I couldn't fix that. I couldn't fix that. We just don't have that many rooms here. And so that was my first awakening to how many people, 2 out of 10, had these CPAP machines here at our farm. That was a shock to me.
And were they overweight?
Slightly. So,
Yeah,
all right, so
it's not always a huge overweight, but it is a contribution.
Well, yeah, I would say each person was a little overweight. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as trim as you? No. As trim as me? No. As trim as Mrs. Finelli? No. More weight than that. Absolutely. BMI was significantly above yours, mine, and Mrs. Finelli's. Dr. Shealy, when we come back, can we talk about an update in scalar energy, your scalar technology? What, if you found anything new that you'd like to share with us? Color therapy, sound therapy, and inflammation. It's a tall list to get done in the next segment. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Shealy is with us, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, do you have a scalar medicine update, a scalar energy update for us?
Well, all we have at this point is a number of people who are using it to control pain. And it looks as if sitting in that for 6 to 12 hours without having to do anything but be exposed to it does have a significant effect on reducing pain almost anywhere. Obviously, it depends on the cause. If there's something that needs to be corrected, it wouldn't work. But, most pain is because of old damage, not new things that need to be changed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. Joey from Michigan, USA Prepares instructor, asked me if I would ask you about colloidal copper. Copper is a trace element that we need in our bioelectrical system. What do you think about colloidal copper, either topically or ingested?
Well, it is an antiseptic, if you will. It does kill germs. I wouldn't be worried about it topically. I would be concerned about taking it orally because there's a very thin line between too much and too little of copper. There's a relationship between zinc and copper, so it's about 4 or 5 parts of zinc to 1 part copper that we need. And it is important in our response to inflammation or injury. But I wouldn't take colloidal copper orally ever.
Okay. Those of us who grew up or maybe even still have in our homes copper plumbing, our drinking water, our showering water flows through copper pipes. Is that a good or a bad thing in most instances? Are we getting too much copper or the right amount?
Well, the problem, I think, is not the copper tubing, but that the joints are soldered or, I don't know whether they're soldered or welded with lead.
They're soldered with lead. Yep. It was.
And the lead is certainly a possible severe toxic problem.
Okay. What if someone said, I'd like to have some more copper in my diet, and just and they've got plastic plumbing and they just stuck a piece of copper in there and there is no lead involved in the equation? That might be something that Vinny might want to.
It would probably be safer.
Okay. There you go. Okay. Couple other quick questions, Dr. Shealy. Sound therapy.
Well, that is a huge subject. Sound as music has been used to calm the savage beast for many, many centuries. Mm-hmm. And there's no question that the right kind of sound is indeed relaxing and helps to reduce stress. Bob Monroe introduced back in the 70s the concept of hemisync. Hemisync is a situation where you put, let's say in the right ear you put 104 cycles per second, in the left ear 100 cycles per second, and it leads you to hear the 4 cycles. Hemisync, basic hemisync is very relaxing, and is an adjunct that can be added to other things. And there are all kinds of other modulations of sound that can be used to help reduce stress. I mean, that's what its major effect is, to reduce stress.
Okay. That's fascinating. I'd love to talk more about that when we have more time. What about inflammation and premature aging? So let's say a person has inflammation. Does that cause them to age prematurely if that inflammation is prolonged?
Every known disease, including cancer, is associated with some degree of increased inflammation. Now, the single best blood test of that is the so-called high-sensitivity C-reactive protein, where it is said that the normal range is 1 to 3, but I personally think it should be below 1. I like to have it about, 0.3 to 0.5.
0.3 to 0.5. Okay, boy, that was a really quick 2 hours, Dr. Shealy. Kind of felt like an hour and 45 minutes.
As always, great one. Thanks, Ben.
Dr. Shealy, thank you so much for being with us. That's Norm Shealy, normshealy.com. Above all, honesty and integrity, what happens next is up to you.